Did you know that in 2003, the Province of New Brunswick designated over 150,000 hectares of Crown land as protected natural areas? Then in 2005, additional areas were added to the Protected Natural Areas network to bring the total to over 158,000 hectares, or 390,000 acres. This is equal to almost 1/3 the size of Prince Edward Island. You may be wondering, what are protected natural areas and why are they important? Protected natural areas are nature preserves that are legally protected under the Protected Natural Areas Act. They are important because they help to protect the biological diversity in plant and animal life within the province, which in turn helps to maintain healthy and rigorous environments. In March of 2012, the Government of New Brunswick committed to doubling the amount of protected natural areas on forested Crown land. This equates to adding approximately 122,000 hectares of Crown land. This would bring the total area of the Protected Natural Areas network to over 280,000 hectares, which is approximately 1/2 the size of Prince Edward Island. When counting protected federal lands within New Brunswick and other provincially protected lands, currently 3% of New Brunswick is protected. Once these new sites are designated, approximately 5% of the province's natural heritage will be preserved for existing and future generations to enjoy. The new protected natural areas will be selected from approximately 190 candidate sites, totaling 143,000 hectares of New Brunswick. Some of these candidate sites are expansions to existing protected natural areas, whereas the rest are entirely new areas. How were the candidate sites chosen? Over the last 2 years, employees from the Department of Natural Resources, with advice from a scientific advisory committee composed of foresters, biologists, scientists, and naturalists, created a process to identify candidate sites. The identification of the candidate sites incorporated 3 important components of landscape management. These components are distribution, or where to place the candidate protected natural areas; composition, that is, what features should be included or avoided; number 3, the configurations, what are the appropriate sizes and shapes for the candidate protected natural areas. First, let's talk about the distribution. The province is composed of distinct natural regions, each containing their own geography, climate, altitude, landform, bedrock, and soils. These physical features give each natural region a distinct mixture of plants and animal life, a distinct biodiversity. The goal is to represent within the protected areas all the ecological or biological variability within the distinct natural regions. However, the existing protected areas are not uniformly distributed across natural regions. Some natural regions have much more existing protected areas than others. The candidate protected natural areas are distributed across the province to capture natural regions that are underrepresented in the current protected natural areas. This will result in a more even distribution of protected areas across natural regions. So now we know how we want the candidate protected natural areas to be distributed around the province, but what should each contain? Ideally, along with having equal representation of protected natural areas across the region, the protected natural areas should adequately represent the biodiversity of each natural region. In other words, the protected areas should be representative of the natural region in which they are located. If, for example, south-facing slopes account for 25% of a natural region, then ideally, we would want 25% of the protected areas within that natural region to consist of south-facing slopes. Computer models were used to, number 1, identify which physical features were not sufficiently included in the existing protected lands, and 2, map out the areas that contain specific priority features in addition to the physical features that came out short in the first analysis. In addition to the physical features that came up short in the first analysis, some priority biological features were targeted. These include old forests, rare habitats, forest types that have declined, and areas that are known to have other ecological values. There were also features that were to be avoided wherever possible. These included areas planned for wood harvest, forest plantations, areas that have had their trees harvested, areas leased to mineral and petroleum companies, areas with many roads, maple sugar operations, and other Crown land that is committed for various other uses. So we've covered the distribution and composition of the candidate protected natural areas. Now what about their configuration? That is, what shape should they have and how big should they be? As one would expect, the larger a protected area becomes, the harder it will be to avoid unwanted features such as forest clear cuts, forest plantations, and mineral rights. The total area in protection and the potential size of any single protected area is constrained by society's other demands on the land. Timber production, mining, agriculture are also important to New Brunswickers, and it is difficult to identify large areas of land that have not been impacted by these land uses. The candidate sites were therefore positioned and configured to include as much unaltered wildlife habitat as possible, while minimizing the amount of land that is influenced by human activities that occurred in the past. The selection of the candidate sites was aided by the use of aerial photographs and information gathered from aerial surveys to assess the suitability of forest areas as wildlife habitat. The largest candidate protected natural area is almost the size of Grand Manan Island, at over 12,000 hectares, while the second largest is over 8,000 hectares. There are 10 candidate protected natural areas between 2,000 hectares and 5,000 hectares, and 107 sites that are less than 500 hectares. The smallest candidate protected natural area, which is a third of a hectare island near Praksha, is used as a nesting colony by black-legged kittiwakes, razorbills, double-crested cormorants, and gulls. Increasing the protected natural area's land base is a step in the right direction to better protect New Brunswick's biological diversity. Protected natural areas allows New Brunswickers the opportunity to enjoy the unique rewards of nature through activities such as hiking, camping, and snowshoeing. These sites are protected from industrial use and higher impact recreation and offer areas for scientific research and education. Thank you for watching.